Hi, my name is Thomas Watson, and I am a graduate research assistant at the University of Memphis. Today, I will be speaking about the Map901 project, a collaborative effort between the University of Memphis and the City of Memphis to build rich interior hazard maps for first responders. The PIs of this project are Dr. Lan Wong and Dr. Eddie Jacobs, and our collaborators at the City of Memphis are Kimberly Bailey, Wendy Harris, and Cynthia Halton. This work was performed under the Financial Assistance Award from the U.S. Department of Commerce, National Institute of Standards and Technology. First, I will introduce the problem, why we need rich interior hazard maps for first responders. Then, I will present our methodology. I will also explain our latest progress in data collection and data fusion. After that, I will present the results of our indoor image segmentation and 3D point cloud annotation. Finally, I will draw our conclusions and give a brief outlook. Firefighter deaths and casualties occur due to navigation difficulties in smoky environments. According to the National Fire Protection Association, on average 65 firefighters die every year. In 2019, 48 firefighters and 3,700 people lost their lives, and 16,000 people were injured in building fires. One of the most disheartening facts about firefighter fatalities is how close to an exit the firefighters were found, sometimes less than a mere 10 feet away. High-quality 3D maps are a possible technological solution to reduce these sorts of tragedies. Collaborating with the City of Memphis, we surveyed a diverse set of facilities to produce point clouds, 360-degree videos, and other sensor data. We are developing efficient and effective mechanisms to annotate our data with public safety objects of interest to first responders. We have surveyed 7 facilities with around 2 million square feet of indoor space. 5 of these facilities belong to the City of Memphis and the State of Tennessee, and 2 of the facilities belong to the University of Memphis. These facilities represent a wide variety of structures, such as a museum, library, nature center, store, classroom, office, sports stadium, residence, lab, storage facility, theater, and even a planetarium. In addition to their diversity, they also vary by a considerable amount in their age, size, and height. 3D mapping hardware for colored point clouds. To develop our scanning hardware, we modified the GVI LiBackpack 50 to add an Insta360 Pro 2 camera. The Velodyne LiDAR sensor collects the point cloud, whereas the camera captures the 360-degree videos. The user wears the backpack and controls the backpack with a handheld tablet. The tablet displays the in-progress scan, and the user can evaluate it for issues while scanning. We additionally use the Reach RS Plus GPS receiver, not shown here, to measure coordinates on the building to perform georeferencing. Although the LiDAR works well in large areas, it is difficult to survey small rooms with the backpack. To overcome this challenge, our team developed a custom scanner named Signac for surveying small rooms. Signac has dual cameras. The top camera provides pose, and the bottom one provides color with depth. To see the difference between scanning with the backpack and Signac, I'm going to show a comparison of the result of the 3D point cloud from the backpack and the result from Signac for the attic in the Pink Palace Museum, which is a very tight, small room. First, the result from the backpack. As you can see, the resolution is very low, and it's difficult to identify objects and features in the room. Now, the result from Signac below. The resolution is much better, and it's much easier to identify objects and features in the room. Compared to Signac, the LiBackpack has a much higher range, compensating for the low resolution. Thus, we get a better scan, comparatively faster, in open areas. Methodology and data collection. Now, we illustrate our data processing workflow using the following diagram. We use our scanner to capture LiDAR data and image data. We run the image data through a machine learning algorithm to produce the annotations. We combine the annotated image data with the LiDAR data using a SLAM algorithm to build the map and a data fusion algorithm to apply the color and annotations from the image data. This process gives us our raw point cloud. We then perform clustering and manual cleaning to remove incorrect labels and poor quality data. Finally, as we scan each room separately, we stitch all the scans into a complete building, then use GPS measurements to georeference the final point cloud. When we do our data collection, we first plan a route to walk through the space. Because the backpack is not designed for indoor use, it can be confused and generate SLAM errors by, for example, crossing previously scanned paths or walking through doors. Additionally, because the LiDAR is high on the user's back and the vertical field of view is poor, we plan to walk as far away from walls as possible. We also remove humans from the space because they show up duplicated as they move around. Once the plan is decided, the operator walks through the area accordingly and uses the tablet to start and stop the backpack recording. The camera records 3840 by 1920 pixel equirectangular video at 30 FPS, and the backpack records IMU and LiDAR data. Once data collection is complete, these recordings are downloaded from the backpack and camera for offline fusion. AI-driven labeling of public safety objects. From the requirements collected from first responders and other stakeholders, we have identified 30 high-priority objects which we label in our point clouds. These include objects potentially dangerous to first responders, like hazardous materials and utility shutoffs, items important for navigation through the building, like doors, windows, and elevators, and items important for monitoring and responding to a crisis, like fire extinguishers, fire alarms, sprinklers, and emergency lighting. We need a trained model to annotate the public safety objects. We create a public safety object dataset to train the machine learning model. We looked through the videos we took during scanning and found good quality images of our priority objects. We then used the Label Me tool to draw polygons manually around each object in the video frames. We conducted a contest using a web-based version of the tool to crowdsource additional annotations. The final results of manual annotation are shown in the figure. Here in the table, we show the distribution of the Map901 image dataset. We have manually annotated 2,960 images collected from all 7 buildings, in addition to some other sources. The goal of our image annotation is to annotate our image data with the public safety objects identified by our label classes. For example, fire extinguishers, building control panels, utility shutoffs, exits, and so on. We train Mask RCNN on this dataset to detect our objects. The automated image annotation process begins with applying Mask RCNN to the equirectangular video frames to generate object annotations for data fusion. The Mask RCNN and Inception ResNet v2 detectors are used to label objects. ResNet 101 may be used in some cases as it performs better for smaller objects. The generated bounding boxes and class labels are stored in JSON format and masks in PNG format, which are later used in the data fusion process. Fusing point clouds with annotated images. To perform the fusion of the color images with the LiDAR point clouds, we rely on the fact that the LiDAR and camera are rigidly fixed relative to each other. This makes calculating the correspondence between a particular LiDAR point and image pixel simple, because the transformation is already known. However, this requires that the LiDAR point and image be captured at the same time, because the system constantly moves as the wearer walks. We found that producing good quality coloring required less than a 20th of a second difference between the times, which was difficult to enforce. To perform rough time alignment, we used the timestamps of the backpack and camera. These were inaccurate and difficult to set, however, so we frequently resorted to pointing the camera at the backpack's clock and reading the times off the video to correct these timestamps. For fine alignment, we correlate the IMU data of the backpack and camera as they both move together. When this fails, which is approximately 10% of the time, we then fix it manually. Because we labeled the image pixels, we can theoretically fuse them along with the color. However, this is not entirely possible because of the implied mapping of 2D labels onto 3D objects. The first problem we encountered is objects with holes. For example, an area of the image labeled window contains the window frame, but it also contains the window panes through which other non-window objects are visible, as shown in the top image. To avoid falsely labeling those objects, we find the point closest to the scanner in each object, then only give points within half a meter of it the object's label, as shown in the middle image. The foreground wall was removed. We also remove labels with low confidence to further clean the cloud, as shown in the bottom image. Red low confidence points are gone, and just the window remains. Another problem we encountered is the fact that each object in the point cloud is built up from dozens of captures from different viewpoints and distances, not all of which may have been successfully labeled. To fill in those objects, we expand the labels. For each unlabeled point, we look for a point with a label less than 50 millimeters away, then transfer the label over if found. This ensures all the points of an object are labeled. We created an interactive cleaning tool using Python and Open3D to remove falsely labeled objects from the 3D point cloud. It uses dbScan to cluster all the labeled points into individual clusters with the same label to make a simplified version of the cloud. As a result, the user deals with hundreds of label clusters rather than millions of individual points. After cleaning is completed, the cleaning tool maps back the cleaned clusters to the original point clouds and exports the corrected point clouds. Since an entire building cannot be finished in a single scan, we must stitch together multiple scans for one building. To stitch the point clouds, we first set one of the point clouds as the reference. Then we use Cloud Compare's manual registration to add a neighboring point cloud to the reference. Finally, we continue until all the point clouds are added. Pictured to the right is a result of the stitched Liberty Bowl point cloud. The stitching process is currently manual, but in the future we will work on automating this process. We have identified several uses for the maps we have made. First, we can visualize them in VR, which makes identifying issues significantly easier. VR also enables us to clearly and quickly demonstrate our results to stakeholders. One of the demonstrations we have used is a VR exploration of the Rosa Parks exhibition at the National Civil Rights Museum. Shown below is our scan of the bus Rosa Parks was arrested in back in 1955. Our maps can enable pre-incident planning, as first responders can understand the layout of the building to help determine escape routes and locations of hazardous objects. Our maps can also be a part of training simulations. By overlaying digital effects such as smoke and fire, first responders can train in a virtual environment instead of needing to set up and burn down a real one. Finally, paired with indoor localization technology, our maps can be used during an incident by first responders inside a building in order to navigate, and by first responders outside to understand the situation. Performance evaluation of object detection and instance segmentation. Here, we report the mean average precision, or MAP, of our model, which is a precision averaged across 30 object categories, 3 different sizes, and 10 intersectional reunion, or IOU, thresholds, from 0.5 to 0.95 in steps of 0.05. We also show the individual precision for IOUs 0.5 and 0.75 and small, medium, and large objects. The precision is the ratio between the number of true detections and the total number of detections. The IOU is the ratio between the intersection and union of the predicted and ground truth boundaries, or how much our predicted boundary overlaps the ground truth boundary. We also report the mean average recall, or MAR, of our model, which is the recall averaged across the same 30 object categories, 3 sizes, and 10 thresholds. Here, MAR is computed given at most 1, 10, or 100 best detections per image. We also report the MAR for small, medium, and large objects. Here, the recall is the ratio between the number of correct detections and the total number of ground truth detections. To perform an end-to-end evaluation, we looked at the point clouds before and after the cleaning process, identified the objects in them, then walked through the building to determine and compare the ground truth. The precision column is the ratio between the number of true detections and the total number of detections. The recall is the percentage of objects correctly detected from the ground truth. The F1 metric integrates both precision and recall. We are using the image instance segmentation model. The model has problems with detecting multiple classes and makes mistakes in differentiating between some categories. These errors carry over to the point cloud. There are thousands of video frames, and each object is annotated many times from different angles and distances, which increases the chance of mislabeling, thus increasing the number of false positives. However, this also improves the chance in detecting an object correctly, at least one of the frames, thus improving recall. The fusion process also adds some errors to the point cloud at this step. Overall, the F1 metric is a good metric to understand the impact of false positives and false negatives for visually distinct objects of a reasonable size. However, smoke detectors and fire alarm switches, for example, are very small, so they end up with only a few points and are difficult to detect. On the other hand, elevators, doors, and building entrances all look similar, and a human would mostly use context to differentiate them, which explains why the result for these is poor. Based on our research findings, we have published a paper in the 10th International Conference on Smart Cities and Green ICT Systems. Our point cloud data is also available for request at the link shown in the slide. Our contributions are as listed. First, we document the challenges we encountered in data collection and processing, which may be of interest to researchers in related fields, such as building information modeling, LiDAR design, machine learning, and public safety. Second, we describe our complete 3D mapping and labeling system for building environments, including sensors, data collection processes, and a data processing workflow consisting of data fusion, automatic labeling of hazards and other objects within the data, clustering, cleaning, stitching, and georeferencing. Third, we use a case study to illustrate our process and show preliminary evaluation results. In conclusion, we have developed a complete system to collect and annotate indoor point clouds with 30 types of public safety relevant objects. We overcame data collection and processing challenges by combining existing approaches with our own methods. Despite our limited training dataset, our annotation performance is encouraging. We plan to improve the annotation performance by increasing the number of rare objects in our dataset and by improving the recognition of smaller objects. Finally, we plan to explore direct annotation of the point cloud combined with our current image annotation pipeline to further improve accuracy. I would highly encourage you to fill out the data request form and download the data. Both link and QR code are visible on the screen. We would appreciate it if you explore our data and provide us with your insights. For any queries, please contact Dr. Lan Wang, Professor and Chair, Department of Computer Science, University of Memphis. That's the end of my slides. Thank you.